So I'm gonna, everybody, thank you all so much for coming. I'm Zeta Govan, I'm the Ward 8 City Councilor, and I'm going to open this meeting of the Finance Committee. Today we have an agenda item of the Springfield Justice Center, resolution to establish a community impact and stabilization fund. And in attendance, I have Councilor Catering Walsh, as well as Counselor Maria Perez. And I want to thank Karen Lee for being here, as well as Adam Frenier, I see is here, Focus Springfield, of course, and Western Mass News. Thank you so much. So we did have this meeting because it was on the agenda on last Tuesday, I believe we had our meeting. And it was sent to committee for councilors to be able to review it. And ask any questions that you guys might have. So I'll just open the meeting. Do we want to read the resolution now, or Karen, if you would please, just so to let you all know, Karen Lee has been instrumental in helping me and the other counselors who were involved in this and putting this resolution together. She did a lot of research. So I just want to publicly thank Karen for doing all that work. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Counselor. Yeah.
So go ahead, Karen.
It's a transparency in the whole process. It's really what I've been
Exactly.
looking at for the past few years. So I'm going to just read this really brief statement
Yes.
first, and then we could do, if you want, I can read the resolution.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Well, we could, we'll see, because we are gonna read it on Monday.
Yeah.
But go ahead, do your
Okay.
statement, and then if you have any
Okay.
questions.
All right, good. This resolution is about whether the city should support adding a component to the courthouse lease that plans for long-term impacts over the life of the project. It does not change the project, it does not interfere with procurement, and it does not set a dollar amount. It simply keeps the door open to include a component cost while the lease is still being structured. The reason this matters is because the proposal already requires developers to assign costs to things like utilities, parking, and operations. But it only describes and identifies long-term impacts like traffic, infrastructure, and broader community effects without assigning any cost to them. So this is not a new idea. It's a correction to make sure what's already clearly identified in the RFP documents is also accounted for as a quantified cost of doing business. This resolution addresses the gap by supporting the inclusion of a defined component within the existing lease framework, aligning identified impacts with how all other project costs are structured and evaluated. And because this is a 40 to 60-year lease, this is the moment to do it. Once the contract is awarded, that opportunity for a dedicated fund to plan for long-term effects is replaced with Springfield reacting to those effects after the fact. So that was just the opening.
Okay, thank you.
And then the second page that we have there are just some questions that I anticipated you might ask. So if you want to look at those or read the resolution, Counselor, whatever you want to do.
And I do want to acknowledge Counselor Davila has joined us. So
Glad to be here.
thank you for being here. So how is this an opportunity? Should I read the resolution? Do you all want me to read the resolution?
I think that'd be helpful.
Okay, and Attorney Ken Shea is here. Thank you, sir. Okay, so this is a resolution supporting the establishment of the Springfield Community Impact and Stabilization Fund in connection with the Springfield Regional Justice Center Public-Private Partnership lease. Whereas the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, through DCAM, is advancing the development of the Springfield Regional Justice Center under a long-term public-private partnership lease structure. And whereas the Justice Center will consolidate multiple court functions into a single modernized regional facility intended to serve the Commonwealth for several decades. And whereas while judicial functions currently operate within the city, the proposed Justice Center represents a consolidation and a long-term configuration of those functions, which may alter the scale, concentration, location, and duration of associated impacts on municipal services and surrounding community conditions. And whereas the operation of a regional justice facility may result in incremental demands on municipal services and broader community conditions that extend beyond baseline service levels funded through the existing municipal revenues, including but not limited to project-specific municipal and community impacts such as court-related transport coordination, traffic management, and emergency response. And whereas such impacts may not be fully captured through property taxation, district improvement financing, or other existing revenue mechanisms. And whereas large-scale, long-term public facilities may also contribute to broader impacts over time, including effects on infrastructure, housing patterns, transportation systems, and related local conditions. And whereas these impacts may include, but are not limited to, changes in traffic patterns and access, displacement of existing businesses and professional services, environmental and site-related conditions, and long-term changes in surrounding land use. And whereas the Springfield City Council recognizes that both direct and indirect impacts should be considered as part of the long-term operation of such a facility. And whereas the proposed P3 lease structure contemplates long-term financial commitments by the Commonwealth over a period of approximately 40 years or more, with possible extensions and Whereas the City Council further recognizes that any such support may be structured as a component of lease-related obligations payable on a recurring basis and directed to a dedicated restricted municipal fund intended to be used for addressing these impacts and not as general municipal revenue. Whereas the City Council believes it is appropriate to explore approaches that address these impacts over the life cycle of the Justice Center. Now therefore be it resolved, support for approach. The Springfield City Council expresses its support for the development of an approach to address project-specific municipal and community impacts associated with the Springfield Regional Justice Center. 2, a service level agreement framework. The City Council supports pursuing a service level agreement or similar contractual mechanism to coordinate and address impacts associated with the operation of the Justice Center. 3, a flexible structure. The City Council supports an approach that is sufficiently flexible to address both direct and indirect impacts over the full life cycle of the facility. 4, consistency with procurement structure. The City Council recognizes that any such approach should be structured in a manner consistent with the Commonwealth's procurement process and may involve coordination among the Commonwealth, the selected developer or property owner, and the city. 5, use of support. The City Council expresses that any support provided through such an approach should be used to address impacts associated with the Justice Center and not as general municipal revenue. 6, lease-based structure. The City Council recognizes that such an approach may be structured as a defined lease-based component payable on a recurring basis over the full term of the lease, including any extensions. 7, engagement. The City Council encourages continued engagement with DCAM and relevant stakeholders to ensure that these impacts are appropriately considered as part of the ongoing procurement process. And 8, transmissions. The city clerk is directed to transmit this copy of this resolution to all relevant parties. And the relevant parties are listed here: the legislative delegation to the state, the mayor of the city, capital asset matter DCAM, the state auditor, and governor of the Commonwealth. That is the resolution. Any questions, comments? As I said on Tuesday, we did give this to the solicitor so he could look at it ahead of time. He made his comments and made some changes, which we adopted. and he was happy with it. The mayor has seen it, and hasn't said no to it.
That would have been one of my questions. Well, what is the mayor supporting this proposal?
I assume so, since he hasn't said no.
Well, I think that,
That's important to know.
Mhm.
We don't have confirmation though.
so I was concerned and I had questions. That's why we're meeting today. And it was basically, what was the economic impact? And it was well, said over here. I just wanted, that the component, costs ensure a portion of the project related to the fundings to local, and it was not quite clarified at the time of the presentation. But looking at thank you for
Yeah,
the
you're welcome.
information Karen provided. That was one of my concerns that I had at the time when it came to sending it back to committee, looking at what was the economic impact that would create.
Well, should we just, why don't we talk about
Elaborate
that
on
then?
please?
So the question was, what is the economic impact? New growth in property taxes will support general municipal services. The project will generate initial economic activity, including short-term construction jobs. Adding a component cost ensures a portion of project-related funding stays local. Impact funds help sustain and reinforce that new growth by supporting the ongoing demands and conditions the project creates. It anchors the investment in Springfield over the life of the lease. Even while broader lease payments may leave the region, state, or country, there is a dedicated, predictable revenue source that is not part of general revenue that ensures future investment in Springfield. And this is not a payment in lieu of taxes or a pilot program.
Mhm.
It's separate.
No, you like.
You know that.
Is that it, Counselor?
Yes.
Counselor Davila?
Yes, good afternoon to all. Madam Chair, would you mind, you say that some changes were made? I have not seen those changes as of yet. Can you give me a quick overview?
So this resolution was sent out a few times in the last month. We sent out copies, so the one that the Attorney Bonacani sent back to us, he called them red lines. And we made those changes, and this is the ultimate, the end product.
Has there any changes been made from the last time we met in the council to today?
No, no,
Oh, so you're
no.
talking about the previous changes, okay. I see.
Right, correct.
Okay, it gave me the impression that recent changes were made. I just want to make that clear.
I just wanted to give a history of,
Right,
we've been working on this for about maybe 2 months, I believe.
yeah,
And that's why I think it's taken this long to get here, because we have gone through, the attorney's office, the mayor's office has seen it. I imagine he might be busy, which is why he hasn't responded, but I could certainly reach out to him specifically, and find out what he thinks.
right. Madam Chair, as I stated before in the city council meeting, this is something that I support. It's something that makes sense to me. This is not a pilot, but rather, as I say, an expression of a pilot program. I think it fits nicely into that theme of pilots. Although this property in particular is going to be paying full taxes, because it's going to be as it is my understanding, it is going to be in the tax roll. There's other impacts that we need to consider. And this is going to be there for a very long time. I think we all agree that the courthouse needs to be in downtown for many reasons, including economic development. But as I said before, we need to be careful. We need to bring more revenue into the city starting now. Otherwise, in 2 or 3 years, I foresee we're going to be in trouble. And so we need to get revenue, and this is a good thing. As again before, it fits nicely into the pilots that I created a little while back, I urge all my colleagues to pass this. I urge the mayor to support this. It's going to create a lot of jobs, and it's going to hopefully have a very good impact in the city. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Counselor Walsh?
Thank you. I'm one of the counselors that wanted to see this go to committee.
Mhm.
So just the Springfield Regional Justice Center. Okay, so this isn't just a Springfield project. This is in the county, correct?
Yes. I'm sorry, I just gave it a title, but that's what it's going to be called, is the Springfield Regional Justice.
So it's just,
So this,
But it's the Hampton County Court.
yes, but
Right.
it doesn't just impact Springfield, it's the whole county.
Correct.
So why wouldn't they be part of this or share in it? Do you have to split the revenue?
Well,
It is-
That's a
County.
great question. But as the host of the city, this is where the impacts are going to be felt.
We start off by saying, I don't think there's a negative impact having Springfield Regional Justice Center in Springfield. There is no location yet. Sorry, I have a terrible cold.
Mhm.
There is no location yet, so you don't know if some of these impacts actually happen.
Okay, that's a good point. And I do want to highlight,
And I think it's a little bit tricky to do this before they actually say that we are coming to Springfield. We have a location and this is where it's gonna be.
okay, that's how we usually do things, after the fact, not plan in advance. And what then usually happens is the city works out maybe a diff. But those isn't new money, it's just the taxes being redistributed to that area for a period of time with a diff. This is strictly for the kind of impacts, and this just happened like recently. At the April 30th meeting last year, DCAM was talking about they had a similar type of a contract, a P3 for the police, what was it, the police crime lab over in Marlborough. And they were talking about how it's going well and they were getting ready to sign and the whole bit. But here's what's happening now, and this is only a 20-year lease. So the city generally is in support of the crime lab, but now they find out that the land that they're going to build it on has environmental issues, so it has to be remediated. Now, then they need an adjacent parking lot. Now the developer is coming back and saying, you know what, I have this extra land, I want to build a housing development on this land. So now the city council's involved with the zoning and the whole bit. And the point of this story is that they didn't prepare for any impacts. And those are real impacts that are happening now. So to plan in advance for them, the Lyman Street, over on Lyman Street, one of the developers there, 2 buildings on the National Registry of Historic Places, gone. An additional 3 historic buildings they took down. If we go down to the waterfront, there are cottonwood trees on that property, which are indicative of floodplain and wetlands. So there's going to be a possible environmental loss there too. Those are not, how do you quantify losses like that? And that's what this impact is for, that perhaps we can't do something right there if that's going to be the property that is selected, but it can be put back in another place to support it or to support the restoration of historic places somewhere else in the city. Those are the kind of impacts that are public facing that we lose. And there's no accounting for that. And so planning in advance for them to happen puts us in a better position as a city with some financing to help, those issues.
I think it's,
Let me just say, I think you guys have done a great job. A lot of work, a lot of thought has gone to it. And I know that your bottom line is to improve the finances of the city of Springfield. And I think it's admirable. But where does the authority come to actually do this? And with the present courthouse, have they had any of these negative impacts you're talking about? And is the
Well,
DA
think
involved?
about all the environment inside that courthouse right
That's
now.
That's what has started this,
Right, so,
the unhealthy air.
Actually, that's not what started it. No, this has been,
Prior
and
to
here's, yeah, prior to that. And that is certainly accelerated it, but this replacement of the Roderick Ireland Courthouse has been on their master plan list since since before then, but their 2017 master plan for the whole entire state of courthouses and anything under DCAM, it's been on their radar. They knew this was gonna happen. And they're waiving procurement rules in order to do this P3 because the state has other capital expenditures, so.
This, of the health and the air in there for the people that work in there, that's definitely been a factor in the new courthouse.
Absolutely,
It might not have come to this
right,
without it.
right, that impact, if there was an impact fund on there, that
would benefit.
would have benefited, because you don't
Our own
foresee these.
Judge Boyle served in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Very, yeah,
Impacted.
yes.
that impact.
Right, and that's, some things you can predict, like there will be a different traffic flow, there might be more police. I mean, you can kind of predict some of those kind of costs, which are covered by the tax that they pay, but other, like, for example, I know we're going through the Court Square area, the redevelopment of that now, so I just want to put this on your radar as well. So that 1860, I think, the old courthouse where the juvenile court is now, that is a historic building. And right now, the state owns it because they own the courthouses. So if it's decommissioned and the state no longer owns it, it should stay then with the city, not sold to a private developer, because now we lose another public space. And that's an impact. So sometimes you can't really see what these impacts are until you start experiencing them, like over in Marlboro, what they're doing. So,
No, but you
Yeah.
can't add anything to the RFP.
No,
yes,
well,
no, this is not adding anything.
right. You're putting a condition in it.
No, it's not a
However,
condition.
What do you do?
Okay, so how did this come about? I looked at the RFP as well as the lease that the developers have to fill out. And on this 40-year lease proposal, they have to itemize how much it's gonna cost annually for parking or utilities or electricity or whatever. So all of those are component costs. And within that document, it has like a narrative you can write, you anticipate any impact on environment or whatever, and so they can write this in. But it's not asking for a cost to be associated with that, as well as the RFP documents, and us being a gateway cities, there is, additional level there. So I'm reading this and they're identifying that these are possible costs, but they don't ask the developer to assign a cost to it. So what I'm asking them to do, or what this resolution is asking, is to not change the RFP. You don't have to reissue it.
No,
They just have to do an addendum to include a component cost for impact.
so wouldn't you have to know who the developer is to do a lot of this stuff?
They'll have to reach out to all of the people who send
Whoever
in
applies.
a proposal.
Maybe-
Because they've already sent in their proposals, and DCAM,
And they've picked, 10 developers, I think.
10 or 11,
Yeah.
yeah, depending on how you want to look at it, it's 10 or 11. But so they pick the developers, and now they can do an addendum to the proposal by asking them to include a component cost in their annual cost.
So I have a question based on that. So if they already And that's that portion. Do we have any risk factors of losing any of the development by requesting adding this cost?
Well, that's a good question, but actually in the RFP itself, this is like not a really great map that we're looking at here, but this is in their RFP and this is like the yellow zone of where the building should go. And so it is about from where Unions Wayfinders is all the way down to like Lower State, down to 91 and up to Chestnut Street, like it's that business district, that's where it needs to go. So it is going in Springfield. This should not make any difference.
Right, because that was a question you asked on Tuesday. And I'm sorry, what is your name?
Danielle Downing. I'm a third associate solicitor. I'm just here.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm just here to take notes.
Well, welcome.
Ken's here to answer my
I'm
questions.
happy to have more women in the law department.
Yeah. Oh, here.
Did you have all this in?
She has it right there.
Yes, she has. Okay, great.
But that is
So
a
those are
really,
good
those are really good questions. Like, how can you do this? Like, how can you do this?
And the thing, one thing
And
that
I don't know how you can do it without all of these people that would have to support it. I mean, I think it's important to know, we cannot appropriate funds.
well, and then that's the thing, this is a resolution,
Yeah.
right? We're asking
Yeah.
the state, in this case, DCAM, to do something. So we're asking them to do it. We want the state legislatures, I know that Senator Gomez and Representative Orlando.
We should
Brown-
tell that story, how that,
Are on
how,
there.
how that all came
Yeah,
about.
because we had a
Yeah.
meeting with them and they're very interested in this happening. At the state level, so hopefully that delegation from this area will advocate for this, because again, this is preemptive. We want to plan for things as opposed to waiting for
Great
things to
idea.
happen and then reacting.
It's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that have to be in place. It's my thought.
Well, there is, that's why it started this
That's
way
why it's
back in
taken so
November,
long.
yeah. So how it initially came about is, I spoke with all of the Massachusetts delegation at a particular meeting that they had in November and asked for their support if this was something they thought was a good idea. And it was generally embraced. And so, then
Is there a lead sponsor?
there isn't really a sponsor yet. So Councilor Govan and I met with Senator Gomez and Representative Orlando Ramos to talk about how we can move this forward. And I thought I turned that off. I acknowledge. Yeah, to turn off. Put it down here.
Happens.
Yeah, so we spoke to them about a process, and originally what we were looking at is a service level agreement where the terms would be laid out. And in order to do that, an addendum would be necessary. So we talked about the steps that we would need to do, and this was one of them, a resolution. The support of the mayor is another one. And so DCAM was informally contacted to let them know that Springfield was working on something like this, so that they're aware of it. The addendum was sent to DCAM. The mayor was copied as well as several other people. So there's communication happening that they know that something like this is being proposed. And then I'm not sure of the next step, if the legislation will need to work and vote on it, but I mean, I don't know
What are
that next step.
the issues you may face with something like this? I would think it would have to be approved by the legislator. They do it for Springfield, they'd have to do it for everybody else in the state. I don't.
Well, those other people in the state should step up and ask for this.
It's hard to have to get though. I think.
Well, the other people in the state, those are separate contracts. They would have to negotiate that themselves.
And I think that, a lot of times I know I hear ourselves, You know, see,
We want to reduce taxes. Money's not going to the general fund.
right. So what I always hear is that, this is too hard to do, or it's too complicated. That this necessary, things like this are necessary, you know what I mean? Just like the urban woodlands ordinance that I'm gonna continue working on, because everyone around us, for example, our energy bills, right, are so high.
Terrible.
Holyoke, Chicopee, they have their own systems. We should have that, right? When I brought that forward, I heard, oh, no, that's too hard to do, it's gonna cost too much money, but if we don't start now, when are we gonna do it? What are we gonna wait till our grandchildren are paying $2,000 a month for electricity? You know what I mean? And so things like that, when I hear things like that, it just kind of bothers me, because there's no time for us to wait, and to waste, because the courthouse is coming. And it's coming to Springfield according to their map. So why not, do something preemptively, so that when we do maybe see some impacts, like what happened to the Ireland courthouse, we can mitigate those costs, right? So it's not about property taxes necessarily. I would love for, our property taxes to go down, absolutely. This is not what's going to do it, right? And I know we're all working on that. I'm glad that Councilor Delgado has the new revenue committee that he's working on, and find ways to, not depend on the state so much. Because right now, our budget is 60% state aid. God forbid, the state has to do some cutting because of what's happening in Washington.
We need to take care of
Right?
ourselves, Zeta.
We have to learn how to do that. And this is one of the ways that we might start to do that, right?
Is there a deadline for when they have to?
Another good question, why the timing matters, yeah. DCAM has, DCAM, for those listening, it's the
Yes.
Division of
Yeah.
Capital Assets Management and Maintenance, who are in charge of the courthouse development throughout the state. They have indicated soon, so soon. Within the next few months before the end of the quarter, so maybe by June. They're looking, but it's.
And I think that's another reason that we wanted to do it kind of quick. We don't want them to choose somebody and then have this happen, because it'll be a harder push or a harder sell, I guess. But if it's baked into the agreement with an addendum, then we could say, okay, well, maybe if there's 11 that have submitted an RFP, 2 of them might pull out because of this, right? And that's okay. So we have 9 left to choose from, and hopefully we'll choose the best one for Springfield that will be local, right? I would love to see a Springfield developer develop this so that the money could stay here, but that probably won't happen.
Good point about the local economy, and I wanna just emphasize this as well. When you have whatever percentage it is, or dollar amount that it is, that's going right back locally into Springfield, right? So that dollar amount, that's gonna be local businesses, local construction, local work, so that it is building the growth within the city with those funds. Now, they could take the remaining 90% of funds or whatever, pay off their, their mortgage or whatever they're gonna do, but we don't know who that's could be a foreign investment, that could be out of state, that could be out of the country. And so if we're looking to keep dollars in our economy, this at least ensures a part of those dollars are left locally, because we don't know who the developer is and who their banks are. So
Right.
money could be leaving the state and Springfield, but this will keep at least a portion of it in.
Go ahead, Councilor Perez.
So hearing what Councilor Welch is saying in terms of being a Hamilton County, I think one of the things in the language should be the eventuality that we need to create the courthouse. This is the resolution that we are is being presented. I think that's will then be transparency and fairness to everyone. So that will be my recommendation in the interim. And like I said, my major concern was what was the economic impact that we created locally, and it has been well addressed. And you're right, we have to start taking care of ourselves and not being dependable. So I'll be in support with the language of fairness of everyone is.
We've been joined by Jeremy Whalen. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Jeremy. All right, any
Curious.
curious?
It's a very big deal, and thank you for all the work.
You've done a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah, we've been working on this since November, and we have sent out the resolution in the last month, I would say. We sent it out a couple of times. We sent it out before Solicitor Bonacani looked at it. And then when he made his edits, we made the edits and sent it out again. So I was hoping that, we could review it, have questions. I'm really excited that you guys were able to ask your questions. I appreciate that. And I'm hoping that we could just, move forward and help our city, continue to help our city.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Attorney Shea, did you want to say something? You're unmuted.
I just want to point out that this is just a resolution that we have, okay? And I think it ought to be pointed out, and I see the other attorney from the law department is there, but the city really, in this case, has no authority to insert itself into the lease negotiations or to require either the state or the private property owner who wins the bid to enter into any agreements that make impacts on the city. The city's not a part of the lease or the underlying solicitation and cannot really make either party into a contract. But the resolution at least states out the position of the city and the concerns we'd like them to consider if they're going to go forward with this. So you want to keep that in mind, okay?
Yep, absolutely.
I can address that a little bit too. Thank you, Attorney Shea, because you're absolutely right. This is all it is. It's that you're supporting
Resolution.
this. But we're also in new territory. This is the first time that DCAM is doing a P3 lease for this amount of time. Usually it's 10 years. So their procurement process, they're waiving. So it's a 10-year lease that usually the state signs with a leaser. This is for up to 60 years now. It's never been done before. And so it changes the game. So to think that we don't have a say in that in an unknown product when they're shifting the policy, I think it's very relevant that Springfield should have something to say about this. At least our input should be recognized. Because this is new.
Yeah, absolutely. The input, the city should have input and make that, but we're not able to bind the state or the person with the
Correct.
property.
No, we can't make them do
You have to
anything.
keep that in mind, okay?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, this is just a resolution and that's the reason that we have been in contact with the state legislation so that they could do something at the state level, because they would be able to mandate something. I'm not sure if they'll be able to before the developer is chosen. But what we are doing is, like Attorney Shea said, is we're letting them know what our position is and how we're protecting our city. We're trying to find a way to make sure that any future impacts are going to be able to be, financially stabilized. Okay, great. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
I think that my comment is lesson learned with the environmental issue that occurred in the courthouse.
Exactly.
So more preventive measure. This does put some
It makes sense, right?
framework in place that we could have a way of going about whatever matters.
And I think with the service level agreement needs to be ironclad too, because look at what happened with MGM, they clawed the money back.
Mhm.
So I think all of those lessons are important to internalize, that doing something in advance, preparing for it, and taking a, you know, a stand on it is important.
The other recommendation that I will make, in all fairness to us as city council and you guys doing all this frame of work, is to put something in place as a tool that could indicate that you're moving towards a resolution like this type, because that was my concern at the last meeting, not knowing the process that you guys had taken and who was involved as the player, if they were accepting it or not. It would confuse me a little bit, and I just saw it as a resolution being in place. For example, if you are deciding to go with a resolution like this type, at least make it as a committee or some through the committee or whatever implementation, so we could be walking with you guys
Mhm.
and not stopping something important like this, because now we are presented with all this documentation that we have not seen.
Noted.
You know, from the inception is what I'm trying to say. As a
Sounds good.
recommendation.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, anything else? If all minds are clear?
Yes, but I think the biggest impact, the most positive thing is that the courthouse, the Springfield Region Hampton County Courthouse will be in Springfield.
Well, it's in Springfield now.
I know, but they didn't have to cite it here.
They did.
Well, if you
Going to
remember
be-
at the April
so
30th
absolutely.
meeting, I don't know if you were there or not, but that was like one of the clear.
Mhm.
Oh, I went to their
indicators.
meetings.
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
wanted it in
Yeah.
Metro Springfield.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to do that. That is gonna be in Springfield, I think is the most positive thing about it.
It's absolutely positive.
But it has its
And-
negatives too, because 5
and-
historic buildings just came down,
Right,
you know,
and we have to
so.
think about the impacts that it will have because it's going to be here. Just like the, you know, Roderick Ireland Courthouse, ultimately, there was some negative impacts from it. And this will prepare us if that happens, you know, or if and when that happens.
Or whatever
Um,
happens.
And
Right.
the disposition of that.
I think it
house.
still should be there.
Well, they haven't named it yet, so.
No, they did promise to leave the Roderick Ireland on there. So
Yeah.
that was asked also at the meeting,
Right.
yeah.
This has nothing to do with the meeting.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you all so much. I appreciate y'all
you, everyone.
coming. And I will call this meeting, Councilor Davila, if you could, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Sure. Motion so moved.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.